War Pugs! How are we all doing? Are we ready? Are we ready to have a good little bit of fun tonight? So, yes, it is boomer time. Thank you, Matthew. I love starting out with a good bit of positivity to the streams, you know? A good bit of positivity. Now, here's the thing. Last time, Fan was not here. That was unfortunate. We are hoping that Fan will be here. Prophet, you've enlisted in the army. Oh, God. Prophet is going to be in a position where he can go to war. That is terrifying in and of itself. Bro! Well, congratulations, Prophet. Congratulations. All right, so little bit to tell you guys, okay? Before we get started. Because I'm hoping that Fan shows up. Because if he does, I'm actually doing a giveaway tonight. And you guys can thank Hobbit for this. I'm going to be doing a giveaway tonight at some point. Hobbit wants to know, basically, we have a Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection. Okay? And at some point tonight, I'm going to be doing a giveaway of that. So we will be deciding when that happens later on in the stream, okay? But for now, X in chat if you've been waiting for this for as long as I have, because I know I'm very impatient. So I have gotten to this point. I am here now. I am ready. Now this, yes, Hobbit, you're right. This Battlefront collection launches in 3 hours, okay? Soon you'll have the power which decide. Don't do that, Prophet. Come on, Prophet. I'm just gonna. All right. So, which one's the non-broken one, Marius? I do not know which one's the broken one, which one's the non-broken one, because he's got them both active right now. I just picked the slightly longer one. Okay. And if we find the broken one, we'll just switch over to the non-broken one. It'll be fine. It'll be just fine. Trust me. It'll be just fine. Trust me. You have a pet Bobcat Corporal Shepherd? Okay. That's some good stuff. That's some good stuff. Your mind is enraged. Well, you're a blood angel. This is typical. Just don't go to the mobile infantry? No. Then you're in Helldivers. Ah. As long as the video and not the stream, it should be good. True. Well, here we are. Guys, I have been waiting for this ever since we started getting messages saying that it was going to be, it was going to be good to go. Is the broken one the longer one or the shorter one? Now, from the thumbnail, we can pretty much tell a couple of things. Number one, this video is going to be featuring our girl. Number two, our boy Lazarus is going to be in this as well. You did not kill Fan's stream, Prophet, no matter how much you want to believe that. You just keep on saying that. It did not happen. Longer is good. Sounds good. That's what she said. Anyhow, leaving that one right there by the door. No, you don't owe me a beer either, okay? You don't owe me a bear either. War Pugs, I have been waiting on this for a while. As soon as it was put out, I was thrilled. Let's get into this. Let's go. Oh, it has broken in the title. Okay, it's not broken. You guys are probably listening to the wonderful sounds of Pug in the background. She's going to pop soon. No other way to say it. But let's get into this. Let's get into this. Yay. that'll be our Pug Connor, Kira.
Ahsoka walked in, the doors hissing and sliding open as she neared the command center. It was in a new location from before, a similar set of rooms but deeper inside of a different Axumite spire, defended from all angles so as to prevent a repetition of what had happened in the last command center. The Togrutan warrior felt a shiver course down her spine from her neck to her tailbone. She had missed that assault by mere minutes, having departed just prior to the Imperial attack. The strange, stretched face of the rebel who had been walking into that place flashed before her eyes, remembering him, and knowing that she was among the last beings to see him alive. But she shook the thoughts out of her head with a slight waggle of her leku. These were hardly the first morbid thoughts of that nature she had been subject to that day, and from the sound of it, her gloomy self-reflection would have to wait. After all, she had just entered the room, and had not said a word, and already people were yelling.
Nice.
Then what was the point of this entire assault?
Yelled the voice of a woman, Jedi Master Elena Zan, Ahsoka realized.
We have to cut our losses. The Imperials have proved to be too much trouble. We cannot continue to play this game by their rules.
Snapped back the thunder of Master...
Oh, you think this is a game? The Titans haven't even landed yet, homeboy.
Mace Windu's response. Ahsoka turned a
Oh! Mace is here! This is gonna be great!
And in the last short corridor and entered the space of the command room properly. Seeing them both standing near the center of the room, the Jedi, clones, and other command staff standing back and around them.
So they all died for nothing. So we went with your plan to assault their temple for nothing? No.
Spoke the Jedi woman opposite Mace Windu, her fists clenched, her hair wrapped in a tight bun, her face smeared with soot, ash, and blood. Her robes were tatters, drifting in her wake, her eyes fierce and expression creasing as she crossed her arms. However, even her appearance was pale in comparison to the fearsome figure cut by Mace Windu. His robes were burnt and torn, his muscular flesh visible in multiple places, and very few of those spots were unmarred by burns, cuts, or deep, dark bruises. His left arm was missing, his robe cut and folded over the stump, which halted the progress of his limb halfway down his forearm. But nowhere was his grim nature more clearly painted than upon his face and the expression which he cast over it. Small white burn patches framed an emotional tapestry that Ahsoka had never seen on the Master's face before, each hateful wrinkle representing a single brushstroke which etched out the furious features of the fallen Master. One of his eyes was white, hollow and sightless, the flesh around it inflamed, reddened, and burned. His other eye, however, was the more fearsome, a fiery sphere, like the eye of a red and yellow sun, held in a glower which was all too obviously able to see the subject of his current frustration. Despite his vicious demeanor, or perhaps because of it, Master Zahn did not back down an inch from his challenging presence.
I got a feeling Mace has been affected, and the effects are permanent besides the arm. Okay? Besides the arm. I got a feeling, just maybe, we need to get Windu in some therapy. Right now.
I am in command here.
Windu hissed through clenched teeth.
And I am giving you a direct order.
Elena made a dismissive sound and laughed derisively in his face.
Do you really still believe that? After what your last assault cost us? After ordering Coleman and Oppo into those massacres? After what you did to Master Obi-Wan Kenobi? Do you have any idea how many losses the entire Order just took because of your mistakes?
The female Jedi Battle Master railed, jutting her chin towards him as though to point with it.
And that is why I'm not going to repeat those mistakes. The temple assault has been nothing but failure since the beginning. We should have always planned to do this from the start.
Countered.
Miss J, he ain't skirting no more. I mean, he's figure skating in the middle of the dark side right now, okay? There ain't no skirting going on at this point.
The one-armed Jedi Master. Ahsoka sidled up to one of the clones in the room silently, eyes on the hostile display before her.
Hey, Sando.
I love this picture right here. This is probably one of the best pictures of the entire thing. You have Mace Windu, like, and of course you're gonna have to visually, like, use your imagination on this. You have Mace Windu, who basically looks like he chewed 5 gum way too much, squaring off against the Battle Master, who is quite literally screaming in his face. She has that, like, Ahsoka has that surprise expression on her face, and this guy's just sitting there with his arms crossed, like, "Sup?"
Ahsoka whispered to the clone.
What's going on? What are they arguing about?
She asked.
Got word from the fleet above us. Good news and bad news.
The clone whispered back, himself also watching the debate before them with no small interest.
True
Good
music.
news is the Imperials have been driven out of the system. Bad news is they have to leave in a few minutes to head back to Coruscant. Apparently another Imperial fleet showed up there.
No!
Sando explained.
What? Coruscant?
Ahsoka said, barely able to keep her voice down. Sando nodded.
Half the armada has already gone back. The other half will follow soon. Mace wants to take most of the Jedi back with them, but not before.
Sando continued before trailing off.
What? Not before what?
Ahsoka pressed urgently but silently.
Not before using what's left of our ships to bombard the Imperial Temple from orbit. He wants to reduce their whole structure to a clean hole in Azure City, leading all
The Skywatch is in the skies of Coruscant. Good times rhymes with war crimes. Hooray!
the way down to the true surface.
Ahsoka felt like she had just been slapped, almost rocking back on her
Exactly,
heels at the
Galaxy
news.
Wide.
Meanwhile, the debate raged, Master Ilana uncrossing her arms and pointing a demonizing finger at Windu.
Nothing but failure. Shakti succeeded in assassinating their commanders. Ayla fought and bled her forces to reach this cursed temple. And Ahsoka Tano ensured the destruction of their main force. The only person failing here is you, Master Windu.
She accused. Windu grit his teeth so tightly, Ahsoka could almost hear the enamel straining against itself, his right hand opening into a claw at his side.
And then he pulled out a 50 caliber Desert Eagle and shot off a shot. I'm sorry, did I break your concentration?
Enough.
He growled.
Stand down, Elena. I won't say it again.
Oh,
She
boy.
raised an eyebrow at him, her stance spreading somewhat, her hands balling into fists.
Or what? You'll strike me with the lightsaber you're reaching for, Mace?
She asked, rage constricting her throat, her own eyes fierce as flames as she glared at him.
Do I need to remind you that you left it and your honor as a Jedi buried in the chest of an Imperial officer?
Ilana continued, stepping towards Windu. Mace's face twitched, as though he had just realized what he was doing, but he was too far gone to backtrack now.
He really
the
is.
Fingers on his remaining hand curled, forming a fist of his own in response to her words, and Ilana returned the gesture with a fierce, joyless grin, raising her own fists in response.
Or should I remind you why they call me Iron Hand instead? I appreciate Master Kenobi, but I won't go down as easily as he did if you try it, Mace.
The Battlemaster promised her superior, voice cold as forged steel left in the snow.
I'm sorry, did this entire thing between two Jedis turn into a TikTok video where you got one person in front of another person? It's like, hit me, bitch, hit me!
Mace did not flinch.
We are destroying the temple.
He stated, reflecting her frigid tone back to her. In response, several clones and Jedi behind Mace stepped forward, handling but not raising their weapons, making clear where they sided.
We are taking the temple.
She retorted, a challenge obvious in every syllable. As with Mace, an even larger group of clones and Jedi approached from behind Ilana, mirroring the gesture of their counterparts, greater in number, but not by a huge amount. Ahsoka felt a shrill cold filling her veins as she continued to bear witness to this internal collapse. During the dawning rays of Azure City's morning, the Jedi had stood united and together like rarely before. Now, they seemed moments from trading blows with one another. And, what was worse, Ahsoka could not for the life of her think of how she could possibly talk either side down. As she puzzled her brain over what she could do to interfere before it was too late, another two figures walked past her and came to stand between the two contending Jedi.
They're literally about to have a civil war over how bad this has gone. Oh my god. Yeah, Shadow Walker, you're exactly right. The Jedi are falling apart. They're falling apart over this. Did anybody not see this coming, though? Because this was going to be nasty, and I would have felt cheated if the Jedi were still sitting there singing Kumbaya after just being on the receiving side of this much of a beating.
Masters Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jocasta.
Hey, Obi-Wan's back.
Enough,
said the elderly master, her eyes narrow as she stood in such a way that she could look back and forth between the two. Obi-Wan taking a position opposite her, himself able to only stare at one of them comfortably, thanks to the thick brace around his neck. Unsurprisingly, his pristine gray-blue eyes locked onto the half-fiery, half-blind spheres of Mace Windu.
Master Windu, this has gone far enough,
he said, voice stern, yet not unkind.
indeed. You two are showing precisely why the Imperials have been extracting such a cost from us.
Jocasta added in his wake.
But he's...
began Master Ilana, but Jocasta forestalled her with a raised finger.
We are not blind to the folly of what Master Windu is suggesting. But the way you are confronting him is not helping anyone. Neither he nor you come to a solution.
The chief librarian of the Jedi Order counseled. Mace was the one to respond, not Ilana.
Folly?
He spat, incredulous.
The only folly was in not planning to do this from the start. How many Jedi are these Imperials worth?
Windu almost roared, fist clenched.
Not one.
Said Jocasta, slowly turning to eye him.
So it is unforgivable to do their work for them. Something you would be doing if you chose to fight Master Zime. Something that Depa Billaba has already done in dealing a mortal blow to departed Master T'Pau.
She finished. Mace's face filled with fury, and he took a daunting step in Jocasta's direction, soot stirring on the floor as the Force swirled around him in response to his intense emotions. But he came up short, as a blue blade of light ignited across his vision, level with his own eyes. Mace swept his single-seeing eye towards the man holding the saber, his heated fury meeting with Obi-Wan's cold determination. He said nothing, holding his saber out between Mace and Jocasta, his line in the sand drawn and burning.
You have lost control,
said Master Nu, her eyes just as cold as Obi-Wan's.
You should return to Coruscant. Speak with Master Yoda, and give no more orders until then.
She all but ordered. Mace's teeth clenched so hard, Ahsoka was half sure they would shatter. The room trembled somewhat, hollow discs rattling on tabletops as Mace's functioning eye burned.
Oh
His
boy.
face further creased. A drop of sweat slid down Obi-Wan's head, but his expression remained firm, his knees bending somewhat in preparation. Ahsoka watched on, eyes bulging as time began to slow in sync with the adrenaline hitting her blood. Before she knew it, her saber was in her hand, the short bar of blue light rising slowly from the hilt. She was only a fraction of a second ahead of every other Jedi in the room, many of their eyes glowing like distant bonfires within their skulls. She held her breath, eyes swiveling in her skull as the clones began to sluggishly raise their guns to aim, time crawling beneath the weight of the moment.
Say something!
As the room was lit in multicolored light, Ahsoka watched as Mace's burning eye swept around, seeing the divide, seeing that he did not stand alone. His lips twitched, fist
Say
clenching
something!
tightly, air distorting around it.
Please, don't do it.
Ahsoka prayed in her mind, heart hammering in her chest. Mace's eye widened, and the fire within it dimmed. He released his clenched fist, breathing in through his nose and closing his eyes.
Oh my God.
Breathing heavily out through his mouth. As he did, a great deal of the tension seemed to leave him. And though he was
Ahsoka, you could have stepped in at any one point in that time. It doesn't matter. You could have stepped in and been like, hey, everybody chill the F out on this. But no. You just stood there and watched everybody that you respect get ready to have a fight. Oh my God. Hold on a second. I have been given an image of what Mace Windu looks like right now. I'm going to show you guys in a second here once I can get my stuff situated. Hold on. I think you guys will appreciate this one. So this is an image, and it looks pretty accurate to what Mace Windu would be looking like right now. This is Mace Windu. I'm just saying. This is accurate. Okay? I'm just saying.
Was still scowling when he opened his eyes.
True,
His
Tabo.
seeing eye was no longer the hateful star it had been before. He gave Jocasta a curt nod past the lightsaber which stood between them, and turned, his tattered robes splaying in the air with the speed of the movement.
With me.
He growled, departing and heading towards the nearby Acclamator assault ships, nearly half the Jedi following shortly after.
Sean, Mace wouldn't have listened to her because she's not a Jedi. Well, neither is he anymore, okay? He's something else, alright?
As they departed, both Ahsoka and Obi-Wan gave identical, slow releases of breath, sighing silently as they straightened and deactivated their sabers. The Jedi remained following suit.
That was a fair amount more tense than I would have hoped.
Said Master Obi-Wan with a faint smile.
Yes, it was. But just navigating that situation didn't solve our problem.
No.
Elena groaned in his wake.
I may not agree with his nonsense solution, but Master Windu was right about one thing. These Imperials have a nasty habit of bleeding us horrifically whenever we attack them. And I don't expect that they will change that willingly. If we just invade the temple...
Calm down. 1 second, everybody. She woke up. Hold on. Oh my goodness. What is your deal? What is it? Huh? Did you hear Samuel L. Jackson decided you wanted to come out and fight? Is that the deal? Fine, come here. Come here. Oh. Oh. Yes. It's Chunkla. It's Chunkla. Yeah. That is what she's saying, Prophet. Oh. No, she just wants out because she's like she's like ridiculously pregnant. She is done. Yes, it's the mighty Chunk. Hold on, you guys already know what I'm going to give to her. F in chat if you like this. Yes? Okay, there you go. Okay, can you calm down now? There you go. There we go. No, no. You get out of that. You immediately start going for stuff you shouldn't. I wish she would. She's something else.
I half expect them to blow it up with us inside, which, in fairness, is an even worse outcome than bombing it from orbit.
The iron hand of the Jedi said, raising her famous fists and facing them palms up.
Hold on a second. Get out of there. No. Hey. One second, I gotta relocate some stuff because she came out of here spitting thunder. She is just a mess. Yeah, exactly. Alright. Alright, here we go.
Up as she shrugged.
Oh my god.
Then maybe we don't attack.
Said Obi-Wan.
We have superiority over them in most ways. We can lock them down, siege them, starve them out.
He offered.
That only gives them time to try something desperate. We need to neutralize them more effectively before they can try another dangerous plan.
Jocasta countered with a shake of her head.
Ahem.
Said a voice, turning the heads of the masters to face Ahsoka as she made herself known.
I think I may have just the alternative to try.
She proposed, a sly smile cutting her features as Captain Rex entered the command base from behind her.
All right. Our boy. We don't even know how many puppies are going to be, Antikira. We just don't know yet, but I've already decided on a few names. You'll find out when they're born.
It's almost time.
Spoke the voice of Aloysius Cinder. Lazarus stood behind the entry pillar, metal augmentations squealing as he nodded. The edifice's shadow slanted against the setting sun and over the two men.
Understood. Begin. Remember to stay indirect, Cinder. Come in from
the saint began to say, halting as Cinder raised an armored hand.
With respect, Your Holiness. I know what I'm about.
Aloysius added, though not harshly.
You are not alone in this.
The man continued, his stern face hidden behind the glare of his fully encompassing helmet. The hard lines which formed Lazarus's wounded, scowling face softened somewhat, just enough for the former soldier to slide a tight grin over his teeth.
Of course,
he said, extending out his hand towards the scion.
Go with he who lights the way,
intoned the saint. Cinder looked down at Lazarus's extended hand for a moment, red lensed eyes glowing in the darkness before looking back up at the saint. His expression was inscrutable as he reached out and grabbed Lazarus's forearm, returning the gesture.
Jane, that sounds like a special attack. You need to come up with your own, special rule set for there. And, of course, yeah, do it. Special attack, lesbian fury. I'm for it. Let's go.
The Emperor protects,
said the Tempestor Prime, gripping Lazarus's flesh and blood arm tightly in his hand, and Lazarus doing the same. They split then without another word, turning away from each other simultaneously and heading in opposite directions. Like shadows, Cinder's command squad of scions seemed to materialize around him, emerging and falling into line as he swiftly and silently made his way towards the hidden Torok's transports. Stepping out from another one of the entry pillars, upon which she had been leaning, was Leandra, falling into a stride beside Lazarus as he moved past her. As she did, the Canoness took up a banner which she held in her left hand. Tall and billowing, it depicted the symbol of her order, a veiled bride standing beside an empty throne upon a background of red. The bride was winged and held a sword before the throne, which was golden and raised. Above and below her, written in gold, were the words of Leandra's order. In her other hand, she held a flaming mace, a thing which looked almost more like a metal torch than a weapon. While she leaned the banner against her shoulder, she did no such thing with the blazing weapon she gripped in her right gauntlet. She held it away from Lazarus, intentionally walking so that the heat from it would not scald him as they strode towards the others.
What was that?
Leandra asked, tilting her head.
Call it vengeance insurance,
Lazarus said, prompting a vicious smile to slowly grow over the battle sister's face. But the saint did not have much time to see it as he came to stand before the rest of his impromptu command squad.
We are departing soon,
he said, though halfway through the sentence he realized he should probably give Cinder a little more time to get ahead of them.
Do you remember your roles in this?
He asked them.
Yes, Holiness,
said Commissar Jane Leros.
I am representing the Astra Militarum in this,
she reported, standing straight-backed. She then seemed to pause before snapping a glare over at Farnes, who jumped and stumbled to salute.
And I am acting as the Commissar Colonel's guard, and once we retrieve the prisoners, I will take command of their care and protection.
The young man stated with a stiff salute that he held, even as the next person began to speak.
I am representing the Adeptus Mechanicus interest at this meeting,
reported Aurora's synthetic voice as she stood nearby, leaning on her axe as servo skulls orbited her in the air. I am her guard, 1313 stated simply, standing with his remaining
1313, you sound like you just went through puberty twice, bro.
Arms stiff at his side, back straight, hand filled with the now familiar grip of his hot-shot las pistol.
Obviously, I'm the Inquisition, insofar as this ceasefire is concerned,
said the deep rasp of Samael, a little muffled by the low stick in his mouth.
And I'm Hecate!
Cheerfully chirped his odd guardian, waving her hand frantically at St. Lazarus as she did, something the Inquisitors seemed to ignore completely.
Good. I don't believe the Republic will have the grounds to demand that any of you leave. Not with those roles and the rules as written in the message we received,
Lazarus began to say, though he paused when he noticed Farnes raise his hand stiffly.
Yes, what is it, soldier? Oh, and at ease,
Lazarus said, allowing Farnes to relax from his stiff posture somewhat, though he remained quite rigid as he felt Commissar Leros drilling holes into the side of his head with the raw pressure of her glaring eyes.
What, role are you fulfilling, sir? In the meeting, I mean.
Farnes asked, and then...
He's the saint! God!
Clarified.
What I mean to say is that, if you don't have a role...
The guardsman continued.
Then they may ask that I and Leandra leave.
Lazarus concluded with a nod of his head, resting his flesh and blood hand on his chin.
That is not a concern,
assured Leandra, stepping forward then, hefting her standard and placing it down, but against the ground beside St. Lazarus and before the rest of the group.
He is an Imperial saint. By my banner and authority as Canoness of this basilica, I hereby bestow the authority of the faith upon him.
She declared to them,
Yippee!
Eyes meeting with Samael's, who, in turn, nodded subtly. She then faced Lazarus.
Will you represent the ecclesiarchy, St. Lazarus? Will you speak for the Emperor's faith?
She asked. Lazarus felt a sense of dizzy lightheadedness building up at the back of his skull, but he nodded nonetheless, reaching forward and grasping the banner.
As is my duty.
He managed to say past the whirl of intense, existential emotions the moment had poured into him.
Oh my God.
Leandra nodded her head and released the standard, allowing Lazarus to heft it with old practice onto his own shoulder. He firmed his expression, gathering his strength to bear this reasserted responsibility, and met his eyes to those of the Canoness. She smiled in return, and he took no small amount of strength from that, turning to face the others once more.
Gather whatever
What is wrong with you guys in chat?
you need if you have not already. Then, we march.
We march!
Ahsoka.
Obi-Wan groaned, leaning over in his seated position and stiffly rubbing his eyes with 2 fingers, his neck confined in the brace he wore and forcing his chin up somewhat.
I know.
She muttered miserably.
I know Anakin encouraged you to improvise, but this is...
He said, placing the datapad with her terms down on the table before him.
I know.
She said again, crossing her arms.
half the prisoners. You realize if this doesn't work, and it most likely won't, you are handing the few hundred remaining Imperials several thousands of new...
The Jedi began to go on, leaning back, but being cut off by his second pupil.
Look, I know.
She blurted, fists clenched.
But it needed to be this way.
Ahsoka insisted, placing a hand down on the table.
She's probably right.
Said
Valk, I
Elena,
already have.
chewing the bottom of her lip as she did.
You agree with this?
Obi-Wan Kenobi asked, gesturing at the datapad with raised eyebrows.
I didn't say that.
Elena snapped back.
I mean that she's right about it being the only way to get them to come to the table.
The Jedi Master explained to her skeptical contemporary.
They'd need a large, guaranteed bribe to agree to something like this. The imps have been nothing if not uncompromising up until now. But frankly, we might as well give them all the prisoners. Let them worry about feeding and equipping them.
The Iron Hand of the Jedi Order explained.
No, we can't do that. Not if we seriously attempt to achieve anything,
said Obi-Wan, wincing as he instinctively tried to shake his head.
We need the rest of the prisoners to bargain with.
He elaborated.
Not only that,
Ahsoka chimed in.
but they wouldn't trust it. They expect us to betray them, I'm sure.
Yep.
This is enough for them to consider it, but not so much that they think it must be a trap. All of them, however, that would probably be too much to believe.
The young warrior explained.
And yet,
Answered an old, wizened voice.
if they expect betrayal, they are likely to attempt it first. We leave ourselves terribly exposed by approaching them in this way and rely...
Hold on a second. What are you doing? Can you act civil for 15 minutes, please? Thank you.
...relying on them to keep their deal. It is more likely, I think, that they will attempt to destroy us once they retrieve their prisoners.
Advised Master Jocasta knew.
It would be suicide if they did.
Ahsoka pointed out, but the older Jedi only nodded.
Even so,
Said the chief librarian.
Master Nu has a point.
Elena said grimly, leaning over the table with one hand and gesturing towards the elder master with the other.
The chances that they have some kind of countertrap ready, or that they will simply try to attack and kill us, are too high to ignore.
The combat master elaborated.
But we can't show up outside of the bounds of the deal. They'll use it as an excuse to run away, or worse, start another fight.
Ahsoka interjected, leaning forward, her hands on the table before her and between them.
Calm down, Ahsoka,
said Obi-Wan, rubbing his bearded chin as he considered the issue.
You mentioned before that they are not liable to trust us if the deal is too good, right?
The master continued. Ahsoka nodded in response, biting her lip as she did.
We may be able to use that then.
Obi-Wan concluded.
How?
Asked Elena.
We'll have Captain Cody stand by some distance from us with a regiment of forces, more than enough to bowl over what's left of the Imperials.
Explained the Soresu master.
Won't that just scare them off?
Ahsoka asked, but Obi-Wan nodded.
Despite the atrocity we have seen them inflict on others, these Imperials care about each other. At least some do.
He explained.
So, in your concern, Obi-Wan, for the concept that the Imperials don't trust you and consider that you will betray them, you're going to station a large force within striking range of them with the express purpose of overrunning them? Obi-Wan, are you high? Did that punch from Mace dislodge something in your brain? Just asking.
Remembering in his mind the Inquisitor, his assassin, the female knight, and her maimed yet stalwart commander.
They won't abandon the prisoners of war we have lightly. So if we place Cody and his forces a certain distance away,
Obi-Wan said, letting the words hang in the air.
Like, far enough away that the Imperials could feasibly run away from the meeting point and escape.
Ahsoka continued the line of thought.
Then it would be enough to show them that we are ready for treachery, but not enough to make them believe we have committed to it ourselves.
Joe cast.
What? You guys keep on assuming shit. Stop that. Just stop assuming things. Why are you making assumptions about these people? Every time you've made an assumption about them that wasn't they're wanting to kill us all, you've been wrong. Can we stop?
Finished, nodding her head.
It is a good plan.
She affirmed a moment later.
Almost a good plan.
Elena added in, raising Obi-Wan's eyebrows in the process.
They could always use the time they need to run away to suicidally attempt to kill us instead.
They try to do that. They
Ahsoka
would.
frowned, but before she could speak, her master's former master interjected.
you are not wrong. And we would be in a rather bad situation if that happened. But only if Cody's forces were the only ones waiting in the wings.
Master Kenobi said.
But they will only be the visible ones, Master Elena, not the only ones.
He added.
What do you have in mind?
Asked Elena, a devious expression sliding over her face. Obi-Wan returned her smile.
ARC troopers.
Was his answer.
Alpha ARC troopers.
This ain't bright. This ain't bright. This is kind of stupid.
They had gathered some distance away from the meeting point with the Imperials, Ahsoka having advised that it was probably best to arrive at around the same time, and not early. Obi-Wan had seconded the recommendation, and now, here they were, waiting. Ahsoka had her eyes fixed on a datapad, streaming a video feed through it and watching it intently. On the screen before her was the smoking, war-torn streets of Azure City, avenues of bent and broken metal languishing silently under columns of smoke which drifted this way and that. When clear of those black pillars of ash, Ahsoka would have been able to see straight through, all the way to the walls of the Imperial Temple. Now, however, she would need to command the probe droid she was seeing through to deploy more than its baseline sight scopes to pierce this veil. Though, what she could see now would still be enough to warn her of their approach.
Anything?
Asked Rex, the clone standing near to her side, carefully checking and examining his new Imperial death laser. The weapon had a light blue and white coating of paint that someone had managed to get an astromech droid to apply hastily, giving it a Republic emblem on the stock of the weapon as well.
I was just thinking about that, Hobbit. We got a demon host still coming.
He seemed to be trying to figure out how to properly clean it, and was carefully disassembling the weapon while referencing a small Imperial handbook, tapping his helmet from time to time to reload the translation program he was using to read it.
Not yet.
Ahsoka answered without looking away.
Maybe it's a trap.
He offered, and Ahsoka frowned, still not moving her head.
If it is, then we won't fall into it easily.
She muttered, sliding her finger over the datapad and directing the probe droid to show her more of its 360-degree view.
Maybe, but...
Guys, Fan is here. Fan is here. X in chat to welcome Fan. Now, I mentioned at the start of this that we were doing something. And I was waiting for Fan to show up for this. Fan, first off, I just want to let you know, somebody, I believe it was Mr. Galaxy Wide, said that this is Obi-Wan during the first part of the episode. I'm just saying, this is what he would look like during the first part of the episode. Okay? Now, we are doing a giveaway today. We're doing a giveaway of Battlefront Classic Collection. Now, it doesn't even launch for a few hours, okay? It doesn't even launch for a few hours. Flat out. It doesn't launch. So, Obi-Wan, Mace, I know, shut up. Stop calling me a boomer. I'm trying to do the damn giveaway, you assholes. Can we not? Alright, so, Fan, need your help for this one. Guys, alright, everybody, stop typing. Okay? So this is a giveaway for the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection, okay? It launches tonight, and we're going to be giving a copy of this away for tonight, okay? So, what I'd like to do, if you would like this, what? If you would like this, Boomer in chat, if you would like this, and Fan, if you will, you also call me a boomer because, damn it, I've earned it tonight. And we're going to look at Mace Windu until Fan goes boomer in here. And as soon as Fan goes boomer, whoever is beneath him, whoever posts the next boomer past Fan's boomer, wins the giveaway, okay? Let it flow! Yes! Hold on. Yes. Yes! Hit me up! It's okay. I'll even put it to music. There we go! Alright! Yes! Yes! I am the Grand Boomer! Top brick! Whenever you're ready, Fan. Boom! Matthew Daughtery. Everybody stop. Everybody stop. Everybody stop. I'm turning this down just a little bit. I'm going to leave it playing, though, because I love it. Alright, let me get back up here. Matthew. Matthew, okay. Alright. X in chat from Matthew, everybody. X in chat from Matthew. Matthew, if you'll do me a favor, if you're in the Discord, go ahead and send me a DM or send Hobbit a DM, okay? Do that in Discord. If you're not in Discord, just check the description below and look for in my community tab, just look for my email in my business inquiries and just send me an email letting me know it's you. I know they ain't stopping, Fan. They're having too much fun with this anyway. But go ahead and do that, Matthew. Congratulations, you win. And you're going to be getting a copy of the Star Wars Battlefront Classic Collection on Steam tonight. Okay, no, don't continue the Boomer Assault. I want to do this more. I'm gonna actually have to do this more. This is actually kind of fun, except for the fact that I just got elder abuse thrown at me from all sides. All right. Yes, we're going to continue the Boomer Assault. Go ahead and send that to me, Matthew. I'm gonna get this. If you're sending me an email, just at me, let me know, and that way I can see it and clearly the role of the boomers. And once that's done, good. Once that's done, good to go, or however it works out. All right. Fire the boom cannon. All right, let's get back into this. Okay, so this is obviously a bad idea. Do not start the Uwu assault. I made you guys a shirt. Leave me alone.
But still, I wonder what the outcome will be if they really...
Rex began to say before cutting himself off.
Oh, Scrog.
He cursed, visor orienting towards a target in the distance.
What?
Asked Ahsoka, looking up and following the orientation of Rex's helmed head to the path of an approaching clone. The clone was notable right away for two distinct features: the blue markings on his helmet and armor, and his bulky, somewhat larger size, something that stuck out distinctively on a clone trooper. Ahsoka quirked her eyebrow stripes and looked back towards Rex, unable to miss how similar the style of their armors were and how close their blue patterns seemed to match each other.
Brother of yours?
Ahsoka asked, and Rex nodded, slowly.
Older brother, way older.
He added, seeming almost as tense as he would confronting an approaching enemy.
Way older? How can he be way older?
She asked, but Rex initially only shook his head.
He's a prototype.
He said after a moment, straightening somewhat as it became clear that this clone was heading directly towards them, him in particular.
Well, what's his name?
Ahsoka asked, putting the datapad down.
His designation is A-17.
Rex answered.
But Anakin named him Alpha.
He finished, presenting a crisp salute and making Ahsoka
blink
in surprise. The clone said nothing as he strode up, getting almost right into Rex's face before he stopped. Rex did not budge or flinch. A tense moment passed where Ahsoka felt she should say something, but had no idea what to say.
At least you still remember how to salute, even if we are the same rank now.
The clone rasped.
Experience outranks everything. You helped teach me that, and I don't forget lessons,
said Rex, only breaking his salute when Alpha returned the statement with a very slight nod, the chin of his helmet dipping only minutely.
Still, I didn't think experience could buy you out of death. I thought you went missing, along with the body of Asajj Ventress,
Rex added as he returned to his at-ease posture.
I made it back a few months ago. Been walking around for weeks now, no thanks to Grievous and his 4 fracking lightsabers.
Alpha explained.
Exactly why I'm surprised you made it back at all. What happened to your shuttle?
Asked Rex, to which the older clone sighed through
Okay,
his
Matthew.
nose.
Asajj Ventress happened. Turns out she was not as dead as the general thought.
Oh boy.
She woke up, hijacked the ship, and...
He then shook his head.
This episode has been ridiculously good so far. Ridiculously good. Prophet, thank you. This guy, this absolutely fucking legend, Alpha 17, can solo everyone with Lazarus and the exception of maybe Hakat. Remember, Fordo, Alpha is like him. Oh, okay, so now I got a little bit more context. Nice.
It's a long story, Rex.
Alpha concluded.
A long story that ends with you ending Ventress for good, right?
Rex asked, but the clone shook his head.
We came to an understanding. She isn't a SEP anymore, not a priority target. Besides, I had a few more pressing concerns, we all did. But like I said, it's a long story, and not one I'm authorized to tell right now, in any case.
Rex nodded his head somberly then.
Well, whatever the case may be, it's good to see you back and on our side, now maybe more than ever.
Ahsoka's clone captain said. Alpha nodded, but before he could add anything to that statement, he was addressed by someone else, his attention pulled to them instead.
Hi.
Ahsoka interjected, stepping such that Rex moved back so that she could stand before Alpha. She extended her hand, an unsure expression on her face as she scrutinized him.
I'm Ahsoka Tano,
She went on.
Anakin's former Padawan. I've heard a little about you. I understand that you used to work under my master's command before I joined his team.
Again, the clone did not deign to answer right away, his helmet moving steadily as he scanned her up and down.
Negative.
He said a moment later, not taking her extended hand.
I wasn't Anakin's soldier. I was his babysitter. General Kenobi was my commander, even if most of his commands were to follow his Padawan around and keep him alive.
Alpha explained.
I see the cycle is repeating again.
He added, his tone almost sour as he looked between Ahsoka and Rex.
Damn!
Ahsoka withdrew her hand and...
Damn! It's a pleasure to meet you. Go fuck yourself. Wow! Shots fired, man. Why? That's emotional damage.
Crossed her arms.
Well, you're a rude clone.
No
Ahsoka
shit.
said in response.
I'm also a correct one.
Alpha added without missing a beat.
This plan is suicidal, unwarranted, and just plain stupid.
He said flat.
Critical hit, yeah. Jesus.
Ahsoka raised a single white eyebrow, her expression conveying a stale, unimpressed appearance.
Gee, thanks for that tactical insight.
She retorted.
If you want to thank me, then call this off.
Was his quick response.
And do what? Bomb them from orbit like Master Windu wanted to?
The former Jedi
He'll
asked,
say yes.
Exasperation filtering into her voice.
No, that's wasteful, and it fails our mission.
He said to Ahsoka's surprise.
The mission was to capture the Basilica. We should assemble several teams of commandos and arcs, wait until nightfall, and breach the Basilica from the lower level. We'll prime some canisters with the blue shadow virus and...
The blue shadow virus?
Ahsoka exclaimed, cutting him off.
We are in the middle of Axum. Even if a little bit leaks to the greater population, the civilian losses will be...
She began to retort, only to be cut off herself.
Manageable.
Now you're thinking just like an Imperial guardsman.
We can disperse vaccines onto the planet once we have confirmed that Basilica is secure and ours. This will lead to the least amount of risks, losses, and maximize the amount of gains we can make for the Republic.
Alpha pressed, though Ahsoka did not seem convinced.
I'm not going to do that. If this works, then maybe there won't need to be any more fighting at all.
Ahsoka said.
With all due respect, you will only be incentivizing a determined enemy to take advantage of us in the future. This war is inevitable. Nothing that happens here will stop.
Guys, X in chat for Fan. Fan, thanks for coming by, man. Thanks for coming by. This has been awesome. This is gonna get bad. I already know it's gonna get bad.
Alpha retorted.
And with all due respect to you, sir, that is not your call to make.
Rex interjected, getting his words in before Ahsoka could begin to rail at him again. Alpha paused once more, but only for a brief moment before giving a nod.
I know,
he said, before then reaching for a pouch he had mounted on his pauldron and withdrawing something from it.
I'm watching your back. You won't know from where, but I'll be seconds away or less.
Alpha explained to the young commander, handing her a small transponder.
Hide this on your person, somewhere you can easily press, and then, when trouble comes and you need someone to pull your saber out of the fire, use it.
Damn! This guy is just there. He is just there right now, okay? This guy is 100% emotional damage to the Jedi. He just...
Instructed. Ahsoka hesitated for just a moment before nodding and
taking
it.
Hopefully I won't need it,
she said as she slid it under her collar.
You will.
Alpha stated without a hint of uncertainty.
This guy has no chill. Just chill out, man.
Before turning around and departing, stopping for only a moment to tilt his helmet to the side.
Stay sharp, Rex,
he said from over his shoulder.
Always.
The clone captain responded, the elder clone nodding sharply and resuming his departure. Ahsoka followed him with her eyes and a sour expression.
Well, isn't he a bucket full of sunshine?
She said sarcastically once she was sure he was out of earshot.
Wonder if he's burned down any good orphanages lately.
She
Damn!
arms crossed as her face filled with lines of frustration.
Well, I'll be sure to ask him his count if the Seps or Imps begin building any.
Rex answered, only half joking, if that much.
Great. You know, I don't know if that gives me hope or makes me hopeless.
Ahsoka said with a shake of her head.
What does?
Asked Rex, and in response, Ahsoka gestured in Alpha's direction.
People like him. They remind me that, no matter what we think, we're not so different from most of the people we fight. And I can't decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
She concluded.
Right now, it's a good thing that he's on your side, because he can stop you from doing stupid stuff. But you're not going to listen to him because you think he's mean.
Rex wanted to argue, but he knew Alpha 17 far too well to engage in that delusion. Trained by Jango himself, genetically augmented for superior strength and speed, Alpha was the Republic's pale reflection of the super soldiers the Imperium fully endorsed. And what's more, Alpha had been among the first, not the last, to be created. He was not a recent development. He was, in many ways, what Rex was meant to be. And Anakin's current captain could not deny that he was at least somewhat grateful that, in the end, he was ultimately someone and something else. But not entirely. A beeping from Ahsoka's datapad roused them both from their thoughts and dragged their attention back to it.
What's that?
Rex asked, and it took a moment for Ahsoka to answer.
The droid's wide-range proximity sensors have been breached. Something is coming up the road.
Ahsoka said, squinting at the datapad, but not able to make anything out yet.
Whatever it is, the droid is saying that it is more than a couple of people.
Ahsoka added, worry worming into her voice.
Too large to be their delegation?
He asked, and Ahsoka only bit her lip in response and waited. They both crowded around the datapad, watching carefully.
Yeah, I like the sound effects
The
too.
droid, who was their eyes, was hovering between two Axumite spires, its antenna bobbing, its lensed photoreceptors clicking and sighing metallically as they zoomed in closer. The smoke drifted across the ruined road leading up to the meeting point, just the same as it had before, its gentle black streams flowing from one side to the other as they endeavored to follow the wind. Then, that same guiding wind pulsed and fluctuated, as if disturbed by what was approaching, and by that disturbance, the curtain of ash wavered, pulled back, and revealed what the droid had been sensing. Stepping through the ash and soot born on the air, the Imperial delegation made itself known. Thick boots crunched metal fragments as the wind around them licked and tossed at the hems of tattered robes and long coats. Bandages, bravery, and burnt steel held shut what should have been felling wounds on each of them, and each of them bearing their own version of a grim expression, with perhaps a single impish exception. Stepping through the ash and soot born on the air, the Imperial delegation...
Okay, first of all, this artwork is awesome, okay? What would I recommend to both sides if I wanted negotiations to be successful? I'd recommend everybody just walk away, because it's not going to happen.
Itself known. Right away, Ahsoka's eyes found a known face, spotting Farnes walking on the far left of the approaching group. The young guardsman looked almost as disheveled as he had when she had pushed him off into the path of his oncoming forces, and she was honestly relieved to see him alive, though shocked to note that he himself would be an actual part of the delegation. Beside him, walking just in front of him, was a woman, a grim-faced Imperial officer who held a thick gun in one hand and wore some kind of massive, sparking gauntlet on her other. Ahsoka could feel her glare even through the screen, and every passionate step she took screamed of a violent, angry desire. Across from them, on the right side, was one of the Imperial droidmen, a female priest of their machine.
Listen to this.
Faith, who seemed wounded. Not that any of them appeared in anything resembling pristine condition, but the priestess was missing her right arm, leaning on a large axe stave as she made her way across the battlefield for support. Above her head orbited a small flock of those fluttering skull droids the Imperials seemed so fond of, the same...
Sassy, there's nothing in that bowl. There is absolutely nothing in that bowl.
Devices as Bofin was. Behind her was another young soldier, himself a sort of mirror of the priestess he followed, in that he too was missing an arm, hefting in his remaining right hand an Imperial laser pistol of some kind. He seemed calm, focused, almost as mechanical as the literal cyborg before him. He had thick bandages wrapped around one side of his face, covering one of his eyes in the process, and around his neck hung a broken, burnt chemical mask. Taking up the center back was what Ahsoka assumed to be a space marine, for she wore powered armor and stood taller within it than nearly everyone else in her delegation. In her left hand, she held some kind of long-snouted pistol, which made itself seem odder by the addition of tubes leading into its nozzle and a small tank in its hand grip.
She came with a flamethrower.
Her right hand, she held aloft some kind of fiery-headed mace-like weapon, holding it high like a torch she intended to use to light their way. Her every step was a declaration, her eyes a proclamation of determination. Before her, at the center of them, and walking in the front of their group, was a man who seemed to lead them, and yet was apart from most of them in a very notable way. He seemed to be wearing scorched and torn sackcloth robes under armor that was not at all unlike what Farnes was wearing. The armor of a soldier, of a grunt. His right arm and left leg had been replaced at some point by cybernetics, his skeletal limb replacements among the most distinctive features about him, aside from what he wore on his face and what he carried in his hands. He held high a red banner depicting a veiled, winged woman. She stood before an empty throne, holding a sword and torch as if to protect it from any who may approach. Above and below were golden-stitched words in the Imperial language, making themselves difficult to read in the mild wind which tossed and billowed the banner. On his face was a mask, which, to Ahsoka, appeared to have been crafted from the actual skull of another human.
Probably.
The mask gave her pause, the sight of it sending shivers through her body, but more than that, she noticed how the center of its head seemed to glisten and shine oddly, as if composed of more than just bone. However, the sight that truly made her heart run cold was the sight of those standing just in behind and beside this strange leader of the delegation.
Oh no.
Ahsoka muttered.
What?
Rex asked, and she pointed at the two she had seen before, an enormous man and a small, blue-eyed woman who walked at his side, a skull mask hanging from her hip. The man wore scorched and torn green work fatigues under a long black overcoat which was equally damaged and burnt, dark pants and dark boots with something like a lightsaber hanging on his belt, though not in his hand. Instead, in his right hand, he held something that looked like a death stick, a tube of something that he was smoking, plumes of blue smoke following in his wake.
Oh boy.
In his left hand, He was holding some kind of symbol, a stylized red and gold eye, with a skull sitting in the center.
I met that one before. I thought he was a rebel back then, but I guess he was a spy.
The former Jedi explained.
Ah, I see. Well, that shouldn't be too bad then.
Rex said, but Ahsoka shook her head.
No, Rex, I kinda convinced him that I was collecting Imperial heads from the battlefield to eat.
She admitted, feeling her face burn as she did and looking away.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. I think I remember this now.
Rex said, laying his helmed face in his hand and shaking his head.
Look, I thought he was a rebel.
Ahsoka blurted out.
Yeah, well, now he's gonna think you're one of those human-eating aliens Farnes was screaming about back in the base.
Rex groaned, and Ahsoka crossed her arms, but could not exactly disagree.
I'll just have to explain to them and hope that that's enough to keep the talks going.
Oh, that they believe the Xenos? Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
She sighed after a moment.
Come on, we need to get moving.
You failed your
She
speech
said,
check.
striding forward toward the rest of the waiting camp around her.
Right.
Rex affirmed, trailing her wake as Ahsoka began to walk alongside the long train of Imperial prisoners they had brought with them, and the clones who stood beside them, guarding them vigilantly. She paused at a portable Bacta-tank that they had wheeled out as part of the exchange, the woman within still comatose, her heartbeat faint and slowly growing fainter.
May the Force be with us all.
She whispered
First words of the meeting. I'm not a cannibal, by the way. And everybody just kind of looks at her.
softly to the unconscious form of Nerva Sharp, before walking past her and alerting Master Kenobi. It was time.
Hold fast to your faith. Don't let it slip away. Break from these chains. Set free by amazing grace. Brother, won't you take a stand and lead me to that promised land? And sister, won't you shine your light into the darkest night? I've been going to the river, and I've been drinking from the well. I've been on my way to heaven.
Yes.
And I've been fighting through some hell. I've been looking for attention. I've been trying to make a change. Asking for forgiveness. And learning how to pray through the pain. We're on the way.
All right. Okay. What's becoming of Omega considering the tech support? I have no idea. What's the matter? It's Big Chungus. Look how chunky this pug is. My God. Well, negotiations are on. I'm pretty sure that group from the Imperium needs some WWF music when they're walking down the entrance. Yes, the barbaric pug. Here's some pug ASMR. Yeah, there you go. God, you're heavy. She's like a bowling ball. Yep. There we go. Get out. There you go. So, guys, the Daemon host is still on the way. It hasn't arrived here yet. It's not here yet. Issues are going to be had the second that it does arrive, okay? Issues are going to be had. Galaxy-wide. Meanwhile, Kane not being in an inescapable situation for once in his life. He's negotiating with the Hutts. I'm just saying. You can't wait till we circle around to General Giga Chad Grievous. Honestly, there are so many great places that we can go from here. There's too many good places to go from here, okay? You have Coruscant with the Skywatch. You have Kane with the Hutts. You have the negotiations going on here. You have the wreckage of Omega. Omega doesn't exist anymore, okay? Omega's just gone. What will Mace Windu will react when Obi-Wan said swearing is not the Jedi way? Alright, Antikira. You want Boba to come out of Space Marine? That would be something frightening. Wonder if Alpha can resist the Chaos Demon? I don't think so. Have you checked out the O3 Clone Wars yet? Not yet. There is so many plans. There is so many plans that like you guys don't know, but I'm telling you what. I'm going to be happy in about 2 months. 2 to 3 months. But right now, it's like constant screaming going on in my head every time I turn around. Yes, Glorious Grandma is gone. In case you guys don't remember, Glorious Grandma is gone. So, this has been a pretty awesome stream, I gotta say. Only Fordo with the Doom music can beat the demon. I don't even think he can beat the demon, to be honest with you. Would you stop being this way? Can you stop? Well, War Pugs, my pug is going crazy. What about Anakin in space? Yeah, Anakin in space. Come here. Yeah, Grandma went down in a blaze of glory. Come here. Come here, Chunko. Oh, Chunky Monkey. Oh, Chunky. Oh. Oh my God. She weighs twice as much as she normally does, at least. You're a good girl. Alright. Yeah, Anakin and Iskander, that's gonna be something. You also have the Bad Batch on board the Imperial ship. You have the Custodian. You have Alpha confirming Ventress is still alive. You have all of this stuff. I'm shaking the baby so they come out happy. There's so many places to go from here. There is so many places to go from here that it's just insane at this point. How many places there are to go from this point? Yeah, the Custodian, the weird heretic of the heretics. Yeah, this is true. Oh. And Palpatine is still on the planet. So there's so many things, okay? The pugs will come up, babies will come out angry. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Hugging you. What about the Crimson Razors? Dude, the Crimson Razors are still eating. Okay? The Crimson Razors are still eating. Yeah. Yeah, and like I was talking about with the Bad Batch, yeah. It's okay. Okay. Yeah, there you go. War Pugs, I'm going to head out from here. Thank you guys for coming by. The giveaway was fun. I'm going to have to do that more often. Special thanks to Hobbit because he had that. And he messaged me a little bit earlier today. He was like, hey, why don't we do a giveaway? I was like, hey, sweet, let's do it. I'm going to have to do that some more. That was actually kind of fun to do. Excellent chat. If you had a good night tonight, guys. I'm going to head out from here. We'll wait with bated breath until the next comes out from Fan. But until then, I'm going to schedule another live stream. Hopefully sometime later this week. I don't know if I will be able to or not. We will find out. Because I've been waiting to do Emesis Blue for a little bit now. And it's been a wait for me. So, we'll see. Until next time, guys. Just remember good times, rise of the war crimes. Have some fun. And I'll catch you guys next time.